Boston, 1962. A city steeped in history, known for its cobblestone streets and colonial charm, a city known for its history and charm. But beneath the surface, a dark shadow was beginning to spread. It became a breeding ground for fear. The once bustling streets grew eerily quiet as night fell. An unknown assailant, later dubbed the Boston Strangler, stalked the streets. His presence was felt but never seen. He preyed on women, his methods brutal, his motives unknown, each attack more savage than the last. 11 lives were taken, each more horrifying than the last. The city was gripped by a palpable sense of dread. The city held its breath, united in fear. No one was safe. Families locked their doors and windows, hoping to keep the terror at bay. The killings began in June 1962, a summer that would forever change Boston. The victims, all women, were found in their apartments, strangled, often sexually assaulted. Their homes, once sanctuaries, became crime scenes. The city was in the grip of terror. Every headline brought new horror, every day a new fear. Women were afraid to be alone, to answer their doors. The sense of vulnerability was overwhelming. The police were under immense pressure to find the killer. Every lead was pursued, every clue examined. The Boston Strangler case remains one of the most infamous in American history. A case that still haunts the city. It's a chilling reminder that evil can lurk in the shadows, that even the safest places can harbour danger. The case continues to fascinate and horrify, even after all these years. It remains a dark chapter in Boston's history. The question remains, who was the Boston Strangler and why did he kill? The mystery endures, as chilling as ever. The killer's calling card was chillingly simple. He used articles of clothing to end the lives of his victims. Stockings, scarves, even a bathrobe cord. These everyday items became instruments of death. He would often pose the bodies, adding another layer of horror to his crimes. Newspapers dubbed him the Silk Stocking Strangler, a name that sent shivers down the spines of Boston residents. The city's collective anxiety grew with each new victim. The police were baffled. The murders seemed random, with no apparent motive. The press had a field day. Sensational headlines screamed from the newsstands. Theories abounded, but the killer remained elusive. Fear was a constant companion to the people of Boston. They were living through a nightmare. The victims were diverse. They ranged in age from 19 to 85. They came from different backgrounds, lived in different neighborhoods. The only thing they had in common was that they were all alone when the killer struck. Anna Slizzers, a 57-year-old seamstress, was the first victim. Found in her apartment, a nylon stocking tied around her neck. Then came Mary Mullen, 85, discovered by her niece. The terror escalated. Helen Blake, 65, was found in her apartment, sexually assaulted and strangled. The city was on high alert. Ida Erger, 75, a retired librarian, became the fourth victim. The killer was growing bolder, his attacks more frequent. Jane Sullivan, 67, was found murdered in her apartment. The body count continued to rise. Sophie Clark, a 20-year-old student, was next. The city was gripped by panic. The killer could be anyone, anywhere. A pattern began to emerge, one that sent chills down the spines of even the most seasoned detectives. The victims were all found inside their apartments, places where they should have felt safe. The doors were unlocked, suggesting they may have known their attacker, or perhaps they were simply too trusting. The killer often posed the bodies, adding a chilling theatricality to his crimes, as if he wanted to send a message. The lack of forced entry baffled investigators, leaving them with more questions than answers. It pointed towards the possibility of the victims knowing their assailant, amplifying the terror that gripped the city. The crimes were always the same, meticulously planned and executed with a disturbing precision. Strangulation, often with a ligature taken from the victim's own clothing, was the killer's method of choice. The brutality of the murders shocked even seasoned detectives who had seen their fair share of violence. The city lived in fear of the next attack, with residents locking their doors and windows, hoping they wouldn't be next. The police were under immense pressure to find the killer, their every move scrutinized by a terrified public. Every knock on the door, every creak in the night sent shivers down the spines of Boston residents, who were now prisoners in their own homes. The city that never slept was now afraid to close its eyes, haunted by the spectre of the Boston Strangler. The Boston Strangler was a ghost, appearing from the shadows to claim his victims and vanish without a trace, leaving behind only fear and unanswered questions. The investigation was massive. Hundreds of police officers were assigned to the case. They followed thousands of leads, interviewed countless suspects. But the killer remained elusive. The pressure mounted with each passing day. The lack of concrete evidence frustrated the police. The investigation seemed to be hitting dead ends at every turn. The police faced immense public pressure. The media scrutiny was relentless. Every move the police made was analysed, debated and criticised. The investigation dragged on, and the killer continued to roam free. The city of Boston held its breath. The shadow of the Boston Strangler loomed large, a constant reminder of the killer in their midst. The investigation continued, a race against time to stop the reign of terror. Section 6. Confession and Controversy. In 1964, a man named Albert DeSalvo confessed to the murders. His admission sent shockwaves through the community and the nation. DeSalvo, a handyman who had been arrested for a series of sexual assaults, claimed to be the Boston Strangler. His background as a handyman gave him access to many homes, making his confession plausible. His confession was detailed, chilling. He described the murders with a level of specificity that was both horrifying and convincing. He provided information that only the killer could have known. Details about the crime scenes, the victims, and the methods used were all accurate. But his confession was not without its flaws. DeSalvo's account contained inconsistencies. Some of his descriptions did not align with the known facts of the cases. Some details didn't match the evidence. Doubts lingered. Investigators found discrepancies that cast a shadow over his claims. Some investigators believed DeSalvo was not the killer. They argued that his confession was a fabrication, a bid for attention. They argued that he was seeking notoriety, attention. The media frenzy around the case only fueled these suspicions. The lack of physical evidence linking him to the murders fueled the skepticism. Without concrete proof, his confession remained controversial. The debate over DeSalvo's guilt continues to this day. Modern investigators still review the case, searching for definitive answers. Despite the controversy, DeSalvo was never tried for the Boston Strangler murders. Legal and procedural issues prevented a trial. He was sentenced to life in prison for the sexual assaults. His time in prison was marked by further controversy and speculation. The lack of a trial left many questions unanswered. The true identity of the Boston Strangler remains a topic of debate. The families of the victims were denied a sense of closure. The mystery and pain of their loss continue to haunt them. Section 7. Life behind bars. DeSalvo was incarcerated at Walpole State Prison. He maintained his innocence in the Boston Strangler case, claiming he confessed to protect his family. He became a controversial figure both inside and outside prison walls. Some believed him, others remained skeptical. Life in prison was harsh. DeSalvo spent his days in a small cell, haunted by the crimes he may or may not have committed. The controversy surrounding his case followed him. He became the subject of books, documentaries, and countless theories. DeSalvo's mental state deteriorated in prison. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia and other mental illnesses. His claims of innocence became more insistent, his stories more elaborate. But the truth remained elusive. Section 8. Death in Walpole. In 1973, after nearly a decade in prison, Albert DeSalvo was murdered, found stabbed to death in the prison infirmary. His death was a brutal end to a controversial life. It also added another layer of mystery to the Boston Strangler case. DeSalvo's murder remains unsolved. Theories abound, ranging from revenge by fellow inmates to a conspiracy to silence him. His death robbed the families of the victims of a chance to confront him in court. It also fueled the debate about his guilt. DeSalvo's death did little to quell the controversy surrounding his case. In the years since, there have been numerous attempts to prove or disprove his guilt. DNA evidence has been inconclusive. The Boston Strangler case remains a haunting mystery. Section 9. Unanswered questions. The Boston Strangler case continues to fascinate and horrify. It is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of ordinary life. The case remains unsolved, with many questions unanswered. Was Albert DeSalvo the Boston Strangler, or was he a disturbed man who confessed to crimes he didn't commit? Was there more than one killer? Were there other victims? These questions continue to haunt investigators and amateur sleuths alike. The Boston Strangler case is a testament to the enduring power of mystery. It is a story that refuses to die, a puzzle that may never be fully solved. The case serves as a chilling reminder: some secrets refuse to stay buried.